Here's Brody Brazil.
Wow. This was definitely not on my radar, not a video I expected to be doing, at least today. And the fact that it came down to the final minutes of the trade deadline, and the fact that Tomas Hertl was even traded anywhere takes a little bit of time to get accustomed to. He's not a Philadelphia Flyer. He's not a Colorado Avalanche. He's not a Boston Bruin. It's the fact that Tomas Hertl is now a Las Vegas Golden Knight. It's going to take a little bit to digest that, to understand it. Once you do, I think we'll all realize why this move was beneficial for both sides. But again, just the shock factor alone of a deadline day deal that nobody saw coming. I mean, if anybody out there right now is claiming to have predicted this, they are absolutely lying. The thought of Tomas Hertl, his contractual status, where the Sharks are at, what they'd want, what they'd be able to get, I don't know that any of that would make sense, but this is sports for you. So let's dive into a couple aspects of the trade. First off, what exactly it was. The Sharks get David Edstrom, a centerman who is one of the top prospects in the Vegas pipeline right now. He was their 2023 first-round pick. San Jose gets him. They also get the Golden Knights' 2025 first-round draft selection. In return, the Golden Knights get Tomas Hertl, a 2025 third-rounder, a 2027 third-rounder, and the Sharks will retain 17% of Tomas Hertl's contract, which he only signed a couple years ago on that long-term extension. Let's begin with the personal side, though, right? We can talk business, and we will, and what this move makes. I think we actually need to circle around here for just a second, because all of us are so well connected to Tomas Hertl. This is somebody who we got to know, got to witness him grow up, mature as a human being. He was the 17th pick overall by the Sharks, first round of 2012. I remember the first season, the first couple games. Remember the 4-goal game between the legs? That was actually, I think, game 2 or 3 of that year. It was such a hot start for him, and obviously a tumultuous year because he had the knee injury with Dustin Brown a couple months later. But we watched Tomas Hertl come in from the Czech, not speaking much English and kind of learning the language, learning the culture of North America. We witnessed him become a husband during his time as a Shark. We witnessed him start a family as a member of the San Jose Sharks. And somebody who the entire time was wholesome, was genuine, was so forthright and kind and always smiling, and you just feel like you knew the guy, even if you've never met him. I totally understand any Sharks fan right now who's just having a hard time processing all of the business side. Yeah, because this personal angle, it just hits so hard. This is somebody who you've known for a long time, had a long-term relationship with, and yeah, over time, the business stuff will settle in. It'll make more sense, but you really have to understand this and conceptualize this before we move to the business side of things. Tomas Hertl's journey, and not just as a person, but as a hockey player, when he came up with the Sharks, it was a very competitive team. They were going to the conference final year after year. They were in the playoffs every season. It was a hard roster to crack. You're a forward on a team with Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau. Was Danny Heatley still around? I'm losing track of the years, but these were very competitive teams, and Hertl had to be a prospect who actually panned out really well, and he certainly did. So when he came up, it was not easy. Then he went through those multiple knee injuries early on in his career, and yeah, we'll never forget Dustin Brown for one of them. But he grew as a player, as a forward, was a winger that was converted into a centerman. I remember that journey alone, that transition alone was something that took a little bit of time. Went from wing to center. Maybe it wasn't working out as expected. Back to wing, then back to center when he was ready. Now you'll never even think twice about it. Anything else than him playing that center position, but even small things like that we'll go back on and just remember where he came from, his evolution into a team leader. I mean, how about this season? Talk about this year with the captain, Logan Couture, sidelined for the first, more than half of the year, then only played a few games, then back out of the lineup. It was Hertl's job to basically take over the default captain's role inside that Sharks dressing room and be an absolute leader. And again, somebody who coming in had trouble putting multiple sentences together, like somebody who was comfortable in his own skin, but really had to kind of learn everything about the NHL that we got to witness firsthand. It was so special to watch with Tomas Hertl. And from the flip side, like his perspective, You think about the times he's seen with the San Jose Sharks. Got to go to the Stanley Cup final with them in 2016. Got to be in all those playoff years, the conference final years, playoffs, seasons after season. It's safe to say that he's definitely seen the best of Sharks times inside that dressing room. And in recent years, in the last couple of years, when they've been on the outside looking into the postseason, he's seen the worst of San Jose's years, and he was willing to sit through the rebuild. He was willing to be part of this process, obviously signed the long-term deal when things were a little bit less stable than they had ever been, but it's just kind of interesting, the journey, the personal journey that he's been on too as part of this. Okay, now quickly the business side. He's under contract until 2030. That was a pretty long-term extension the Sharks signed him to a couple years ago. And safe to say, with Doug Wilson as the former GM, this was kind of the last big move of the Sharks' last era. They're going to retain 17% of his salary with Las Vegas. That's a pretty significant amount. That means the cost to Las Vegas is only, I say only, about $6.75 million a year, but that's an important consideration and aspect of the Sharks part of this. However, on the Sharks side, he's 30 years old, and the timing of the Sharks rebuild and when they might be good again, you're starting to realize if it takes a couple more years, well, then Hertl's 33 or 34, and maybe his piece at that point doesn't necessarily fit the same. And in the meantime, this obviously clears up a lot of cap space for San Jose to be a little bit more flexible there. The Las Vegas side of things, win now and worry later, right? They'll worry about Hertl's years of 27, 28, 29, and into 2030. They'll worry about that later. They're trying to secure that kind of forward depth right now. Win now, worry later. And that's why, obviously, Las Vegas is doing kind of what the Sharks used to do for years. Worry about later some other time. They're trying to win right now. They're trying to bolster their team. And in the case of the Golden Knights, they're trying to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. So they're not as concerned with the entire situation. But, man, I look at Cap Friendly here and their roster and their payroll and how things are, and they got that weird thing going on every year. Every late part of the season, Mark Stone goes on the long-term injured reserve, and then all of a sudden he's ready for the playoffs again. Mark Stone's salary this year, $9.5 million, which doesn't count against the cap from now until the end of the season. And by the way, there is no salary cap once you hit the playoffs. How does Las Vegas even do this? Look at the money they've got tied up between forwards, defense, goalies, on the IR, and the long-term injured reserve. I know that's small on your screen. I urge you to go check that out on Cap Friendly. It's an interesting situation. Like, how did Vegas even pull this off? Again, the surprise side of all this is that you didn't expect Hertl to be moved necessarily because he's a big piece and because this is more like a summer move. I think I have this here too. But how does Las Vegas even fit him in the here and now? So that's what makes it more mind-numbing, is that not just that Hertl got traded, which is fine for San Jose. It's actually a lucrative move for San Jose in the long term, but also for the Sharks to trade Hertl to an interdivision rival, meaning that even as they rebuild, even as they try and get better over the next couple years, yeah, you're going to go head-to-head with Tomas Hertl in your own division during that time span. So all of that makes this a little bit more surprising. I think right now you look at the Golden Knights and the moves that they've been making and the fact that you'll have Hertl ready for the playoffs. Yes, he's injured right now, should be fine for the postseason. That's another part of this. How many times do you see a star player get traded while they're injured, while they're on the IR? Stone will be ready and back for the playoffs. Again, I think this is the third year in a row that Mark Stone has been placed on the LTIR in like February or March, and then somehow he's just magically always ready for the playoffs. It's an interesting one that they're doing in Las Vegas. Plus Hanifin, the trade that they just got him as well too. So the health timing, the acquisition timing, everything is really working out for the Golden Knights, and that's why I think in the end of this season, I mean, this is a blockbuster trade. Hertl's going to be great for them. They're going to be hard to beat this year in the playoffs. I don't know that Tomas Hertl will ever see this. Probably not, but I just want to wish him the best. And I think this is one of the interesting things about sports is we know how Sharks fans feel about the Golden Knights. No question about it. But it's going to be hard for any Shark fan to ever boo or feel bad about Tomas Hertl. There's too much history. There's too much connection. There's too many backstories. Like, as much as anybody in San Jose is going to dislike the Vegas franchise, they'll always feel great about number 48. And you know what? This is going to take days and weeks to settle in. I mean, the Sharks will play a game tomorrow night. We'll be talking about this on television. But as this reality kind of sinks in here in the minutes and hours and a couple days since what happened today, it's not going to feel normal for a while. But like I said, in the long term here, the Sharks got some really good things back. They're moving forward as a team. This only benefits them to kind of rip the Band-Aid off here and now. They found a suitor. They found a good suitor. They probably would have preferred if this team were out east instead of out west in their own division, but this is something they had to do. And now if you look at San Jose, I mean, all the big moves, most of them have been made. Brent Burns no longer a Shark. Erik Karlsson no longer a Shark. Tomas Hertl no longer a Shark. And so this was a lot of groundwork done by Mike Grier and his brand new front office as they try and turn things around. They're trying to turn a page, start a new chapter. And part of that is ending a chapter that had been so long and so storied, like what Tomas Hertl had in San Jose. But again, Hertz, I wish you the best. You were a great Shark. I know you're going to be a great player in the rest of your NHL career. And I wish you the ultimate prize, the Stanley Cup. It doesn't have to be with Vegas. You're with them now. But if it is with them and if it is this year, I'll be so happy for you nonetheless. You made it here to the end of the video. Thumbs up down below. I'll greatly appreciate that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.